So before I let you go, I had a few questions from some of my buddies in my fantasy league. So we're gonna start with the first one from Dave. He asked, "What philosophy do you think is best, drafting heavy on pitching or hitting, and why?"
So, as always with these questions, depends on your league, and you have to know your league mates. If they overvalue pitching, then you might have to grab a pitcher earlier. Like for example, I play in some NFBC leagues, which are some high stake leagues with some really tough competition, and pitching tends to be valued at a higher rate in those leagues. Like you'll see Lucas Giolito win at the end of the first round. So they in a league like that, I'd put a premium to try to get my ace within the first 4 rounds, maybe even two pitchers within the first five. But in most leagues, I'd prefer to go heavier on hitting because especially if you're in, let's say, a head-to-head league, you could stream a few strong matchups, or you could target a lot of the later round uh, breakout candidates. Like look at Rogers there in Miami. He looks great. He racks up strikeouts. You had Aaron Savali who went pretty late. Yusei Kikuchi was the guy I liked. He looks solid. Also, if you decided this year to go heavy on hitting and not take a pitcher until, let's say, the fourth or fifth round, you might have ended up with Tyler Glasnow and Corbin Burns, and look how good they look. So I prefer definitely to go hitter heavy just because they are safer. They don't get injured as much. And when they do, it's not really a season ending injury like you'll see with a pitcher. So my preference is to go hitter heavy. Maybe out of the first 7 picks, I'd say 5 hitters.
Okay. And my other buddy asked, this is Tom. He doesn't. He said, I don't know the best way to phrase it, but what would be the best way to use your ad drops per week? I feel like a lot of those are almost blind gambles, and we're also in a head-to-head league. So yeah, that was his question.
Okay, so are you in a head to head league where there's a moves limit per week?
Uh, it's crazy. I should know this because I'm commish, but
Because in mine that we have a limit of this is my league with my friends. This is my big home league. I believe it. Yeah, it's 3 moves per week. So in that case, when you're limited by your moves, you want to be careful. You don't want to use all three earlier in the week. Sometimes if I have a player that I could drop, I'll use it as a streamer. Like if I see a pitcher who has a good matchup that I really like let's say the other night it was a deeper league, but I liked Aaron Sanchez's matchup home against the Reds, and he did decent, I believe. So using one as a streamer to take advantage of a weak lineup. That could be good. You're also always looking for closers who lose their job. You might pick up the guy who might be the new closer. Like in my league, I have Rafael Montero, and he blew another save. And I know Kendall Graveman, who's his next in line to be the closer there, has looked good. So I picked him up just to make sure that if Montero loses the job, at least I have his replacement. So I like to look at either streamers, new closers, or a hitter or pitcher who I see has a long-term outlook that will carry value throughout the season. For example, in my home league, Jazz Chisholm was on free agent still, and I had Adalberto Mondesi injured, and I was using Andres Jimenez as shortstop. He was the guy I liked. He's a young hitter. He has a lot of speed, but he's been getting benched a lot, especially against lefties for Ahmed Rosario. So I just cut bait on Jimenez. I see how Jazz Chisholm looks. He's mashing. He steals bases. He even walks at a decent clip. That's a guy I could see having value throughout the year, especially he's a former top prospect. So basically, to sum it up, I'd use your moves either on a streamer, potential replacement closer, or a player that you see could be wind up having value throughout the season. And don't be afraid to drop those streamers. Like let's say you picked up a borderline pitcher, like a let's say Madison Bumgarner was home against the Rockies or just a terrible offense on the road, and he pitches well. Don't be afraid to drop him right after that good matchup just because he did well, because chances are when he faces a tough lineup, he's not going to look too good anymore. So with those streamers, I would suggest cycling through them quickly, even if they do well, not to keep them on your team.
Cool. Hey Frank, thank you so much for hopping on the show. Let let the audience know where they can find you on social media, where they can find all of your work on fantasy. Let them know.
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Ammirante TFJ, and I always engage in debate with my followers about baseball or football. I'll post some bets that I like. I'm doing terribly right now, but hopefully my betting improves. I'll post some daily fantasy players that I like. Also, you'll find my work on Rotoballer, where I'll write about maybe any streamers you want to pick up, either hitter or pitcher. I also will write about, again, DFS content. And you'll also find my work on the game day. I write about both baseball and football for both sites. I'll be covering some NFL draft, but in terms of baseball, streamers, daily fantasy, betting picks, all there. I'd love to interact with any of you.
Cool. All right, Frank. Thanks so much, man, and take care.
Thanks and good luck on your season. Thanks for having me on.